you think, Marge? All I need is a title.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome back. This is Max with another solo Escaping Atheism podcast.
Hi, everybody!
Hi, Dr. Nick!
Just to let you all know, we are seriously thinking about changing the name of the Max Kolbe channel to the Red Pill Religion channel. In fact, we're probably going to do that.
Consider it done.
And I want to remind you, we are attempting to make what we're doing, the Escaping Atheism Project, a movement. We want to get more people involved, whether you are a Jewish, Baha'i, have some sort of pagan spirituality that's non-mainstream, Christian, whatever. It is time to recognize that atheism is a hate movement.
Yes, because the world is full of atheist haters who want nothing more than to stuff you in a bowling bag and throw you in a river. Yeah, because that really happens.
And it's no longer merely individuals deciding they don't think there's a God, or they believe there's no God, or they're not interested in religious or spiritual questions. These people constitute a movement with recruiters and conversion material and propaganda.
Gee, I wish someone in the higher-ups in the atheist hierarchy would give me some info on this super-secret shit you've uncovered here. I mean, some of it could really come in handy, given that I hang out with a local pastor and his entire family. But I guess I'll have to make do with my noob atheist beginner's manual, because, channeling my inner Jim Gaffigan here, nobody likes me.
They trade in phony science, they trade in phony history.
This would be the phony science and the phony history that you and your fellow believers don't have a good response to when they are confronted by it, such as when theists call into the Atheist Experience call-in show so that they can get their weekly ass-ripping from Matt Dillahunty.
And one of the things that we're all finding, those of us, whether we're Christian or not, the atheists hate all of us. And I will show you this. We are going to begin examining the atheist phenomenon entirely from a red pill perspective, which is why we're probably going to rename this channel. Just so you know, the red pill metaphor involves seeing reality for what it is rather than what it is not. It's a metaphor from the movie The Matrix. And when you take the red pill, it's very traumatic and disturbing, and you don't like what you've seen, but it turns out to be the truth. I've mentioned this before, but I'm going to mention it again. Here's some red pills for you. Number one, religious men. Atheists really do hate you, view you with contempt, view you with scorn, and want you to give up your beliefs or at least stop talking entirely about them. Get on the back of the bus, sit down, shut up. This is what the average atheist wants today.
Except that, speaking as an average atheist, I can truthfully say that by and large, atheists don't hate theists. In fact, I would go so far as to say that both sides generally don't even think about each other on a day-to-day basis. It is only when you bring both sides together that something might happen, and even then, 95% of that time, I would say that the worst thing that might happen is that voices will be raised in a debate.
And atheists who deny this, well, they ought to take pains to deny it really hard and make efforts to overcome it. Because otherwise, at this point, if you're a religious man, it's safe to assume that a man who calls himself an atheist hates you.
Yay! Way to fearmonger there.
Ditto a woman who calls herself an atheist. If they call themselves an atheist, then religious man, spiritual man, they hate you. They don't want to live and let live. A second red pill you should all be able to take. And by the way, if you're an atheist, you should take this red pill because it's the truth. If you're an atheist, You are not entitled to our respect, trust, or friendship.
I don't believe that I am entitled to the trust, respect, or friendship of any other human being. All of those things are aspects of a relationship that must be earned over time. So to expect them from someone else at the drop of a hat would be stupid, and to simply hand them out to anyone you meet simply because you've met them would be a demonstration of gullibility. However, whether a person, regardless of their faith, becomes friends with, trusts, or respects another person is really not something that can or should be handed down by an idiot having a bowel movement.
I'm going to repeat that again. If you are calling yourself an atheist, then religious and spiritual people, whether they're Christian or not, Muslim, Hindu, Shintoist, you name the religion, paganism is various pagan religions are making a big comeback all over North America and Europe. And I'm glad to see it, because at least it's better than the militant, hateful atheist contingent.
Really? Hateful? How about these examples of hatefulness?
You're an atheist. Give me a fucking break, Michael. Alright, you know what? We need to start going to church every week. I've had it with us.
I don't believe in God.
Bullshit. You got yourself confirmed, and you said to the bishop.
Yeah, but a lot can happen. You can think.
Oh, a lot can happen. All of a sudden, you can just quit believing in God?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, there is no God.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you. You want to know there's no God? Then you're going to get absolutely nothing. Nothing for Christmas, because that's what Christmas is about, is Jesus Christ.
Okay.
No, it's not okay, Michael. It is not okay. You have...
You're really not going to let me go to college?
Hey, Tanner, we need to end this discussion right now.
Oh, yeah, you can go to West Georgia and live at home. Yeah, sure.
Tanner.
Which we had agreed upon for the last 17 years. We agreed upon that. That's the only thing we agreed upon, that we're going to go to West Georgia and live at home. In fact, somebody that lives close to West Georgia has no business living on campus. That's stupid and a waste of time and money. When you could drive it that quick, you just want to get out and get your freedom is what you want, buddy. Why don't you just call an ace and a spade a spade? You want to be free. You want to run with the world and do the things of the world. Quit blaming it on all this other stuff. The truth is no burden on you. You're just wanting the world and to have a good time, and everybody knows it. And all your fake stuff, just like Joe's, because you wanted something else big time. You want the world.
I'm not allowed to believe differently than you?
Hey, Tanner.
You just want the world, son. I've seen enough kids.
You need to be quiet.
Yeah, I've seen enough kids, Joe. I've raised enough kids. I've watched enough kids for 30 years to the truth. And all it boils down to is they want the world. And they'll make up anything they can find wrong with the truth so they can have the world. Because if you sat down with the elders right now, they could do circles around your evolution thing and show you where it's a bunch of crap.
Oh, really?
And they can show you where the truth is the truth on anything you got to show them that's not a duplication or an error. They can do it in about a heartbeat. But you don't want to do that. You're horrified of sitting down with the elders. You are terrified. I've never seen anybody so terrified of sitting with the elders. Because you want to go out and have fun, and that's the bottom line, Tanner. And we all know it. So you can lie all you want to, but the bottom line is, because you could not believe in the truth. You could even live at home at 18, not go into the truth if you don't want to, but you're minimal. You want the world. Be honest.
That gives you a right to hit me? Can you hit me?
Yeah, when you call me a liar, I'll slap you silly, and if you say it again, I'll slap the other side.
You're gonna
Don't you ever call me a liar again. Who do you think you are? You don't talk to your parents that way. You do not talk to your parents that way. And you call child services. Nothing would be better for me than to take you down to juvie and let you sit. Because that's where you will sit, son, until you're 16, not at Joe's.
16.
You need to go sit there a while, I think.
This is just two examples of nice Christian people that we found on the internet.
The militant, hateful, censoring, bullying, silencing, totalitarian atheist set who say they just represent rationality and truth.
Where are these atheists that are bullying you? Who are these people who are being so hateful to you? I'd say put your accusations out on video so that everybody can see them and evaluate them. And if they are true, then these people owe you an apology. Otherwise, you would need to shut your mouth and stop spreading lies.
And no one else has any. People who do that are not entitled. I mean, I openly encourage people who are religious or just who support religious people to stop being friends with atheists, stop doing business with atheists, kick them out of your homes, kick them out of your places of business, mock them, laugh at them, show them no conversational tolerance, because atheists are awful.
Shut up! That's just morons! I'm surrounded by morons!
And begin saying things like that out loud. I've said this many times, and I mean it as a Christian. Please be a Hindu. You'll at least be more interesting and less psychotic.
The National Institute of Mental Health defined the term psychosis to mean conditions that affect the mind where there's been some loss of contact with reality. So a psychotic person would be suffering from any number of these conditions, which happen to describe Christians, such as yourself, quite nicely.
Than the atheist hate movement that has taken over so much of the Western world. And I'll mention again, yet another red pill everybody needs to take if they want to get real. Religious men, you need to know that they hate you. Atheists, you need to know that religious men are not obligated to like you back or be nice to you or even particularly respect your rights that I can see. You know, you can say you have rights, but why are we obligated to protect them for you? You won't protect ours.
How do you know this? You don't know all atheists, and I'm sure there would be more than a few that would be willing to step up and defend your rights if someone was walking all over you. I love the complete persecution complex on display here, because I'm not going to protect your rights because you don't protect mine. It doesn't quite work that way. In this country, at least, the expectation is that everyone will protect the rights of everyone else, in part because of the slippery slope argument that once your rights go away, mine might be next. Now, this does not mean that rights are not trampled on from time to time, but this is the exception rather than the rule. I also had to question your statement that all atheists would stand up for your rights for the same reasons I just mentioned. Basically, that if they don't protect your rights, their rights are next.
And this third red pill, which we're going to talk about more, both of these two add up to an enormous danger, culturally and otherwise. I'm going to bring up this story that we see in we've seen recently from LifeSite News. Well, yes, it is a Christian site. That doesn't make it lies. Just go read it. And it's the truth. It's a story written to show how, over on the last couple of decades, atheists, through their presuppositional atheism and their arrogant notion that they are the rational ones and no one else is, they are the ones who know fact and science and we are not, and that nobody else is, have really visibly shifted the last few years from claiming that they have no agenda to openly trying to control our children.
Atheists don't claim to have a monopoly on reason and logic. Everyone can use reason or logic. The problem with the theists is that their belief system is centrally based on the concept of faith, which throws logic and reason out the window. Faith can allow a person to use any region or leap of logic, and to them, it still makes sense because you have to have faith to resolve it. In reality, this does not quite do what the theists think it does. Because of the atheists sticking to what is rational and logical, they also tend to rely on science instead of anything else. It is not that atheists know facts and science and that nobody else does. It is that atheists tend to base their arguments on scientific facts, whereas theists may start with facts, but they also allow for faith to play a role, and they allow for biblical passages to play a role, which in real science does not happen. As for threatening your children, it is you, sir, who are homeschooling your children to keep them away from the rest of society and its evil influences. It is you who are doing a disservice to your children by not allowing them to get a widely based set of experiences and exposures to other people and cultures that will challenge and possibly strengthen their religious outlook. Lots of people are religious, yet they send their children to public schools, and they themselves interact with a lot of the rest of the world, but they are not being threatened by atheists nor anybody else.
It's important that more and more people realize, I'm going to say this again, atheism is a hate movement. And we need a counter movement. I believe we need to call it the escaping atheism movement or just the non-atheist movement the anti-atheist movement, the escaping atheism movement, because it's not just about you personally getting out of the ludicrous mind trap that is the materialist atheist worldview. It's about the fact that these people want power. These people are totalitarians. These people are hate mongers, and a hate monger in the real sense. They sell hate. They peddle pseudoscience. They peddle pseudo-history. They peddle intolerance, and it's time to fight back.
Well, first off, believers already have a movement. It's called the church. It sounds to me like you want to set up a proxy group to fight your battles for you, which is stupid. Then Max goes back to repeat the same things he's already said, and to that I would say, 1, we heard you the first time, and 2, it is not any more true now than when you said it the first time.
Including getting in atheist faces and getting rude to them, ignoring them, turning your back on them, mocking them, and again, I'm going to say, kick them out of the house, kick them out of your place of business, just say, get out, I don't want any dirty, nasty fucking atheists around here. Unless, of course, they're an atheist who makes it clear that they have no desire for power, they have no desire to control your life, they have no desire to try to re-educate your children. And they actually, and most of all, though, the atheist who wants to be seen as respected, to make it clear that he condemns those people and wants nothing to do with it.
Okay, let's unpack this a little bit. First, there's a lot of bullshit here, some of it contradicting the rest, and most of it contradicting what Christians believe should be their outreach to non-believers. Getting into atheists' face and being rude to them is, for the most part, uncalled for. It's very simple. If you don't want to have the conversation, simply say, I don't want to have this conversation. Be nice about it and make it clear that you're done talking. Any responses to any claims of victory by the other person should be met with repeating the part that you don't want to have the conversation, and we're done here, and have a nice day. There's no need to get rude to an atheist, in part because it shows you're not really a true Christian who is minding himself against sins that might be committed while being rude. The same goes for mocking them. Mocking someone is one of the lowest forms of argument, so it would be easy for an atheist to simply remark that your argument must be weak, since all you can do is mock them as a person, rather than go after the arguments being made. I would note, however, that turning your back on atheists and ignoring them contradicts the other options you mentioned. Are theists supposed to mock and be rude to atheists, or are they supposed to turn their back on and ignore them? This can be kind of confusing. I like the touch of using the F word to accentuate your point. It's not a very Christian thing to do, but hey, it's your God, and you made him in your own image and likeness, so I'm sure he is okay with you being a vulgar douchebag. Unless, of course, they're an atheist that'll bow down and kiss your feet and tell you that they mean you no harm, and those other atheists who are simply looking for a good debate are simply assholes, because that's how society works, right? In reality, I am a lot like the other atheists you mentioned here. I am not out for power, and even if I get power, I'm not likely to start persecuting the church. I generally try to be friendly to most people, and I am generally easy to get along with. However, I see no need to insult or dismiss other atheists who might not carry themselves like I do. That would be their job.
But I'm going to tell you, if you're a spiritual person, or you simply believe in basic human rights or constitutional rights, you must realize that the right of personal conscience, the right to believe what you believe, is more sacred and more sacrosanct than any other right. It's more important than free speech, because even free speech or free press, you can take those away, but when they try to take away your freedom of belief, your freedom of conscience, your freedom to believe what you believe and pass it on to your children, I'm sorry, that is the worst form of totalitarianism there is. And people who talk like that have been some of the most murderous and oppressive and genocidal maniacs who've ever lived.
The problem here is that your freedom to believe does not trump another person's freedom to believe. Perhaps the exact opposite of what you believe. You might believe in Jehovah, but the next person might believe that your beliefs are horse shit. And according to your logic, that person's belief would be just as valid. Even with this concept, Christians will still figure out ways to infringe on the rights of others. Take the case of Jack Phillips, the Denver baker who refused to create a wedding cake for a gay couple, citing his religious beliefs.
Ruling is wrong. That the Constitution guarantees me the right to practice my faith, my religion, anywhere, anytime.
The gay couple he refused service to may think that his religious beliefs are complete bull. By Max's standard, they'd be perfectly within their rights to do so, and they'd be perfectly within their rights to say so.
Spiritual person, whether you're Christian or not, you need to stand up and say, these people are vile, and these people need to be put in their place and told that they don't get to rule the rest of us because they have self-declared themselves the rational people.
Except that atheists are nowhere near ruling over you. There is a difference between atheists and secularists. Secularists are people similar to what that woman previously was referring to when she said,
And all it boils down to is they want the world. And they'll make up anything they can find wrong with the truth so they can have the world.
Secularists are your sinner types. Atheists don't believe in God, so therefore don't care much about sin. As for atheists ruling over you, that is complete bull. Atheists are much less likely to get elected to public office, they are less trusted as soldiers in the military, and they are less trusted overall. And this is because the society still maintains a lot of the Christian influences that were around in previous periods in our nation's history. From this point, Max goes on to beg for money to get his bowel movement out of the toilet. It's interesting that one of the most recent threads on this video's comments section is one from Godless Cranium, and a good number of the responses there are from people telling Godless Cranium to keep up the good work, or thanking him for helping them find the video. Most of the rest of the reactions to this video have been from people dissing the video and telling Max to grow up, which, in all honesty, seriously needs to happen. Atheists are not out to get him, atheists are not out to rule over him, and his responses to atheists are only going to hurt his cause.